Hello everyone, it's Wednesday, May 13th. This is your afternoon 3 News Now update. I'm Stephanie Haney here with our top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We've got the most up-to-date numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health related to how COVID-19 is impacting the state of Ohio. I'll share those numbers with you now, and then we'll break down how we compare across the country as well as across the world with those numbers of COVID-19 reported cases and also deaths. The most up-to-date number of reported cases based on the expanded CDC definition that includes both positive tests for COVID-19 as well as probable cases of COVID-19 is now 25,721. The number of deaths is now 1,483. The number of people hospitalized since we first learned of COVID-19 being introduced here in the state of Ohio, that was March 9th when we had the first positive case, is a total of 4,618, and the number of total ICU cases since that time is now 1,248. Now let's take a look at how those numbers break down. What we're seeing is a steady number of both new cases, and also we've got ICU down from yesterday and deaths down from yesterday. The number of hospitalizations is also down. In terms of the number of new cases, we now have 471 new cases reported from yesterday. So that is on par what we saw on Tuesday, where we saw 473 new cases reported on Tuesday. This is after we saw a spike on Monday after a couple days of decline. So for the past 2 days, we've seen a relatively consistent number of new cases with 471 new cases reported today. In terms of the number of deaths, there are 47 new deaths reported since yesterday. Now that is down from what we saw on Tuesday, where we saw 79 new deaths reported, but both of these numbers are up from what we had been seeing the several days before that. Remember, on Monday we saw 16 new deaths, and on Sunday we saw 10 new deaths. So from that metric, things are still up, but from yesterday specifically, the number of new deaths is down. And we look at the number of new hospitalizations, there have been 79 new hospitalizations today, which is down significantly from yesterday, where we saw 126 new hospitalizations. On Tuesday, that number, 126, was more than double what we saw on Monday, when there were 62 new hospitalizations. So again, today, 79 new hospitalizations. And in terms of the intensive care unit cases, that's staying steady with 16 new ICU cases reported today. We saw 15 new ICU cases reported on Tuesday, 12 new cases reported on Monday. So that's relatively steady. Now, if we want to take a look at how we compare here in Ohio to the country, as I said a moment ago, we now have 25,721 reported COVID-19 cases here in the state of Ohio. That's about 1.9% of the known U.S. cases here in the state of Ohio specifically. Ohio has 1.9% of all of the cases that are known in the U.S. That's according to Johns Hopkins University numbers. In terms of the number of deaths, it's a steady rate for that as well, with 1,483 deaths related to COVID-19 here in Ohio. That puts us at about 1.8% of the known deaths in the U.S. We have now reached 83,150 deaths in the U.S., and that is after about 1,380,000 reported cases. So that's where we stand across the U.S. in terms of deaths and cases. Both of those numbers are about a third of the global reported cases and the global reported deaths. Worldwide, according to Johns Hopkins University, there are now almost 4,313,000 cases of COVID-19 and very close to 300,000 deaths, a total of 294,647 deaths being attributed to COVID-19 worldwide. Bringing it back here to Ohio, there's a White House report that is out now that was obtained by NBC News, and it flags Columbus as a, quote, location to watch in terms of COVID-19 cases. The city of Columbus has more than 3,000 cases of COVID-19. That is just over 12% of the total cases in the state of Ohio. The data was presented on May 7th to the Coronavirus Task Force. It was previously unreleased to the public and listed Columbus among seven other U.S. cities to watch. These were cities where COVID-19 numbers have been rising at a concerning rate, but are still not considered hot spots necessarily at this time. Now, Columbus, keep in mind, is the largest city in Ohio with an estimated population of more than 890,000 people. So as of yesterday, Columbus had just over 3,100 reported COVID-19 cases. That's a 94.2% increase since April 28th. Just recently, Franklin County, which includes Columbus, overtook Cuyahoga County, which includes Cleveland here in Northeast Ohio, for the most coronavirus cases in the state. So Franklin County, which includes Columbus, now has more than 4,000 cases of COVID-19. Now, in addition to the locations to watch, which included Columbus, the White House report also identified 10 cities which experienced a spike in COVID-19 cases of at least 72.4%. That's over a 7-day period. So we're talking about a spike of over 72% in cases in a 7-day period, and this is data that was reported on May 7th. The top city had a significant surge. Central City, Kentucky had a 650% surge. Now, that's partly due to an outbreak at a local prison in that Kentucky city. Other spots that were among those with a surge of more than 72% in a 7-day period included Nashville, Des Moines, Iowa, and Amarillo, Texas. Today, there will not be a press conference with Governor Mike DeWine. He's expected to resume his normal press conference tomorrow at 2 p.m., where we're expected to hear announcements regarding pools and summer activities. Yesterday, DeWine let tattoo parlors, piercing parlors, and massage establishments know that they could reopen on Friday with those safe guidelines in place. Friday is also the first day that restaurants will be allowed to offer outside dining on their premises. Now, no announcements have been made regarding childcare or daycare situations or gyms. This morning, we talked about 35 fitness facilities that have actually sued Dr. Amy Acton as the director of the Ohio Department of Health because there has been no information provided about them being able to reopen while other businesses have been able to reopen. And just another reminder, another day to keep in mind is May 21st. That's the day that restaurants will be allowed to offer in-room dining to customers as long as they keep up with those physical distancing guidelines that have been put in place and those recommendations from the Ohio Department of Health. Good news for families of students who received free or reduced price lunches. They'll be now getting an additional $300 in benefits. Those benefits will be distributed to 850,000 students across Ohio who relied on the free or reduced price meals programs when school was in session in person. Of course, school has remained in session remotely, but without being in person, a lot of those families are missing out on those meal opportunities. DeWine confirmed that the state plan had been approved by the USDA. It's called the Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer Plan, and it was included in the Families First Coronavirus Response Act of 2020, which provides assistance to families who are eligible for those free or reduced price meals. We first reported on this yesterday after Ohio Representative Marcia Fudge confirmed the news on Twitter. So these benefits will be directly mailed to students, and families do not need to apply to be eligible. So if you are eligible for those benefits, you can expect to receive those hopefully very soon. Here's something else to keep in mind. Red Cross will be holding blood drives at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. The first one will be tomorrow, May 14th. There will be another one on May 28th. So if you'd like to donate, people are asked to schedule an appointment prior to arriving, and you will be required to wear a face covering or a mask. So healthy individuals who are feeling well are asked to make an appointment. You can do that by visiting redcrossblood.org and entering code ONETEAM. ONETEAM. That's one word, no spaces. You can also use the Red Cross Blood Donor app, or you can call 1-800-RED-CROSS, or you can enable the blood donor skill on any Alexa Echo device. So lots of ways for you to make that appointment if you are interested and able and healthy to donate blood at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse tomorrow, and then again in 2 weeks on May 28th. Keep in mind, free parking will be available. That'll be on East 6th and the Gateway Sports Complex. You can enter through the Cleveland Cliffs entrance at the corner of Huron and East 6th. So According to the Red Cross, each of its blood drive and donation centers follows the highest standards of safety and infection control and will be taking additional precautions that will be including keeping a safe distance among people, face masks for donors and staff in order to make sure that Red Cross donors, employees, and volunteers all stay safe while collecting that much needed blood at this time. Now we have a little bit of drama to get you up to date on. UFC heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic might be throwing shade at the UFC, which has been giving him a hard time over scheduling a rematch fight with Daniel Cormier. He posted an adorable photo of his daughter rolling around in the grass, and the caption was, "This is my life outside of the ring." So this is his 2-year-old daughter, Mila, at his Northeast Ohio home. So Stipe, during the COVID-19 pandemic, has been following along with the Stay Safe Ohio order, with the stay-at-home order when that's what the order was called, and he has not been into his gym, which has been closed, which we talked about a lot today, hasn't been able to train. But UFC President Dana White, over the weekend, when UFC returned on Saturday, made comments about Stipe not planning a fight or not being available to fight because of the regulations that are in place here in Ohio right now. And Dana White said that if Stipe doesn't fight soon, that he may be stripped of his title because the division needs to move on for the other fighters. Now, Stipe over Twitter said that he's not turning down a fight. He's happy to fight Daniel Cormier, but that he's following the rules right now. And he is a first responder here in Northeast Ohio, and that is his first priority. He's been working as a first responder, but as soon as he can get back into his gym, as soon as it's permitted in the state of Ohio, he said he would do that. So maybe a little bit of shade there coming from Stipe with that caption, "This is my life outside of the ring." He did also say that his people are in conversations with the UFC to schedule a fight, and as soon as they can schedule a fight, they will do it. So sounds like we will see Stipe Miocic taking on Daniel Cormier again soon. Not necessarily sure when, but it sounds like Stipe is having a nice time with his family and taking care of business here in Northeast Ohio in the meantime. Another good story to share with you today. Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett surprised a family in Pennsylvania after a house fire. Tommy Abrams, who lives in northern Cambria, Pennsylvania, fell on some pretty hard luck when his family of four's house burned down on the same day that their second son was born in April. So he and his family received a visit from Myles Garrett earlier this week, and Garrett brought toys for their boys, Beckham and London. He made the drive there from here. It's about a 3.5-hour drive from downtown Cleveland to get to northern Cambria, Pennsylvania, by the way, but he made the drive there. And this was organized by Tommy's cousin, Kevin Abrams, who happens to be a Steelers fan, but we won't hold that against him. He helped arrange that meeting. Garrett tweeted in reply to a post that they shared of a photo of them with Garrett. Said that he was happy to lift their spirits, to stay strong, and they've got the whole dog pound behind him. Pretty great of Garrett to make the trip out there, take some toys to those boys, and bring some joy to people in a very difficult time in the middle of what's a very difficult time for literally everyone right now. All right, that is your afternoon 3 News Now update. Next up, we've got What's New at 5 p.m. I'll see you there. We'll also have continuing coverage on what matters most at 6 p.m., on Front Row at 7 p.m., and What's Next at 11 p.m. And I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday. The next time I see you will be Thursday, and that is just one day away from Friday. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.